6 years ago, Kishimoto made this artwork of Team 7, showcasing their future powers, and 2 of them are already canon to the story. The mystery revolves around this KCM-inspired form of Boruto, which hasn't been hinted in the manga yet. But what if I told you this form is an embodiment of the Sage mode, powered by the Karma for a mind-blowing reason? So let's find out more. The Timescape design of Boruto is way more iconic than the ninja jumpsuit of his father. Many people were afraid that Boruto might end up copying a huge amount of elements from Naruto, which thankfully isn't the case. Not only was his Timescape design a unique concept, but same is the case with a lot of other concepts from the story, like the Kama or Otsutsukis lore, Shinjutsu, Jogen, and the new characters. Kishimoto has wrapped the story very smartly when it comes to expanding the verse with brand new and totally unique plot points. The introduction of the Baryon mode was yet another remarkable moment, which apparently acted as the final contribution of Naruto to the story. Now that it's all about his son Boruto, we can expect a power-up to appear in the manga very soon. After all, it's been 3 years since he left with Sasuke to train, so what possible feat has he achieved in the rogue period? The first hint comes from an original artwork of the author himself, where Boruto can be seen with the KCM type of transformation. The reason this artwork holds so much weight is because it is the Sage mode of Mitsuki and Mangekyou Sharingan of Sarada before their debut in the manga. This means Kishimoto has been cooking the new power-ups of Team 7 even before the start of the story. The fact that the script was complete till the point where Boruto and Kawaki have their fight on the Hokage mountain also confirms that the author had planned all the major events that will build up to this scene as well. This means we might soon get to see the alternative of this KCM form that Kishimoto had chosen for his protagonist. The reason I think it's about to get replaced is pretty obvious. Kurama is no more in the story and Boruto doesn't have the dual Byakugan. What this means is that it's almost confirmed for Boruto to get a chakra cloak like this. The only thing is that neither it would be related to Kurama nor the Byakugan. I'm not gonna bore you guys by saying it's a manifestation of the Jogen that hasn't even appeared in the manga yet. So what if it's actually the Kama seal which is behind this form of Boruto? I believe this because of the infusion of various Otsutsukis genetics that Boruto has possessed. He apparently has connections to not 1 or 2 but 4 Otsutsukis, and let me explain how. First and foremost, we all know the sons of Kaguya have shared their powers with Naruto and Hinata respectively. The fusion of their chakra makes their children the closest to Kaguya, and it was even teased in chapter 75 when Daemon got afraid of Himawari. But what if Boruto is the personification of Hogoromo and Himawari is the same for Hamura? This form of Boruto looks a bit similar to the Sage mode too, which acts as a medium for us to connect him to Hogoromo. He also has Momoshikis seal inside of him, along with the eye which apparently belongs to the Otsutsuki gods, which makes him a one-of-its-kind Otsutsuki. The fusion of the powers of multiple aliens must have made him an out-of-league prodigy, but we shouldn't forget that his enemies are no game. They are as powerful as him, which means in order to figure out where he stands against them, we will need to disfigure his divine power-up. I can draw some connections between Hogoromo's Senjutsu and how Boruto might have underwent something similar in the time skip. But just because the Otsutsuki lore has expanded too much in the story, it seems to me that this new power of Boruto will be a never-before-seen thing. So what is it all about? Think about the Kama for a second. It grants Boruto the powers and battle experience of the host Otsutsukis, which has already scaled him beyond many OG characters. But the way for him to transcend into a new stage of power is even more interesting. I think there were other Otsutsukis who had landed on Earth before Kaguya, and Gamamaru is a living proof of it. He taught Hogoromo the Senjutsu, which I think is derived from a Shinjutsu of a similar kind, and this is how I see it. Just like how Otsutsuki powers known as Shinjutsu get condensed into ninjutsu when used by shinobis, something similar could be the case with Senjutsu. However, the medium in this case was the Toad Sage Gamamaru. We even get to see him using a crystal ball, which presented the whole story of Kaguya to her sons. The crystal ball recalling the past events and Momoshiki having the power to see the future. Again hints at the Otsutsuki connection of the Toad Sage. Now that I have clarified the transmutation of the Shinjutsu, let's go back to Boruto, who possesses the purest of these divine powers. Just like how there is a Shinjutsu counterpart to every ninjutsu power, I believe Boruto might awaken the Otsutsuki equivalent of the Sage mode, similar to the chakra cloak wielded by Toneri, but just because he's not a pure Otsutsuki like Boruto, there is literally no comparison between their superior forms. To clarify, Hamura is the direct ancestor of the branch family of the Otsutsukis, as well as the Hyuga clan. Toneri says to Urashiki that the main family of the Otsutsukis has abandoned them, and here he is referring to the moon Otsutsukis. What's interesting is that Toneri himself is not a pure Otsutsuki and stands on par with people like Naruto, Hinata and Sasuke, who are also descendants of Kaguya's offspring. The humanoid look of the moon Otsutsukis also differentiates him from the main clan. This means the chakra cloak of Toneri is also not a pure Shinjutsu, rather a dwindled down version of the original divine power. Now imagine the heights that Boruto is about to hit. With the Shinjutsu variant of this power, he is bound to surpass his enemies, who have went far ahead in their capabilities. Like Kawaki, for example, has awakened the full Dharma Eye in a span of 3 years without any mentorship. He has this timeless dimension, which could either be similar to the time chamber from Dragon Ball Z, making him one of the most powerful characters, or it could simply be the Daikokuten, which helps him in roaming in this dimension. Boruto will certainly reach up to his level with this unique power that was being planned by Kishimoto from more than 6 years. I call this transformation the Shinju form of Boruto, where he is capable of touching unimaginable feats as an Otsutsuki. The only drawback here could be Momoshiki, who was too dependent on his absorption power back in the day, and now he has got a vessel who is training very hard. It will automatically grant him a demonic upper hand for years to come. Whenever Boruto will be out of chakra, Momoshiki would appear to steal the show and do the most sinister things. What's more interesting is that this drastic change in Boruto's persona also hints at him developing the traits of Momoshiki. The monster was shown to have sadistic tendencies when he laughed after seeing distressed citizens while firing his elemental attacks. He also has a strong superiority complex as he looks down upon everyone except him and even calls them inferior creatures. Something similar can be found in Boruto's personality in the first 2 chapters of Two Blue Vortex. Before discussing how this cultivation of the monster's personality could affect him in the long run, let's understand why it's very likely to happen for a few solid reasons. What I believe is that the karma compatibility of an Otsutsuki and a human is a bit more complex than what we think. If an Otsutsuki wants to make a human his vessel, they both will need to share some personality traits to make the karma ritual work. That's the reason why Jigen couldn't find a suitable vessel, which led to the death of thousands of innocent children. Kawaki had faced abuse and betrayal, similar to what happened with Ishiki by the hands of Kaguya. The emptiness in the heart of Kawaki that had been recalled several times by Jigen was the first personality trait that they shared. It became the medium for Kawaki of becoming an Otsutsuki after the passing of Ishiki. If he didn't feel this emptiness that was fueled by his unfortunate circumstances, I'm pretty sure that he would have died in the karma experiment. What's more interesting is that the vessel develops the characteristics of the host after remaining fused for a long period of time, like Kawaki becoming a complete rebel just like Ishiki, who relentlessly waited for thousands of years and even cheated death to get to his goal. The Red Karma Builder is no different and is determined to end the shinobi system at all costs. So now that we know Kawaki becomes the second Ishiki, it's very possible that something similar will happen with Boruto. He might also become a sadist prodigy who won't have any mercy on his opponents and would seek pleasure by seeing them in pain. The trait that made him compatible with Momoshiki was his tendency to seek shortcuts, which made him a spoiled privilege just like the Otsutsuki. But the personality makeover that he has apparently underwent could make him one of the most deadly protagonists in the history of shonen. It would be cool to see him take down his old friend Mitsuki in a death match just because there is no other option. The suffering of omnipotence would make him feel pleasure upon inflicting pain over others. It will be a worth remembering character development and will also make sense for someone like Boruto, who has been through the unthinkable. It's not only the personality of Momoshiki that he's about to inherit, but also the mighty powers that will take him to new heights. As of recent, Boruto hasn't manifested any ability of Momoshiki, which even led to theories connecting the soul of the monster to Shibai Otsutsuki. I have covered this before, but in a nutshell, it's believed that the spirit of Momoshiki who appeared to give Boruto the karma was actually Shibai Otsutsuki. The real Momoshiki who fought Boruto didn't even touch him and wasn't shown to have the power to stop time. While it makes a lot of sense for many valid reasons and could even prove to be the greatest plot twist after Omnipotence, it would be more cooler to see Boruto develop a relationship with an entity whose only goal is to take him over. The Shibai theory might be plausible if the author wants his legacy to reach the world of the Otsutsukis eventually. But the way Boruto bonds with Momoshiki and faces the unreal situation that follows is equally interesting. So when it comes to him manifesting the powers of the Otsutsuki, like Momoshiki used his Renengan to utilize the space-time ninjutsu, Boruto could do the same with his karma. We didn't get to see a lot of Momoshiki's powers as he was too dependent on his absorption cum amplification technique out of laziness. The same ability is utilized by both Boruto and Kawaki and is apparently unique to all Otsutsukis. We also didn't get to see any signature power which is unique to him, and there must be some solid reason behind this. So why wasn't any Shinjutsu of Momoshiki revealed prior to his death? It's very ironic as he seems to have the knowledge of a variety of Shinjutsus, but even after that he didn't use some unique ones during his invasion on Earth. It seems to me that Momoshiki's unique Shinjutsu is the one that he used while giving Boruto the karma. I'm talking about the time stoppage technique that he was shown to utilize many times in the series. The only thing which bothers me is that why didn't he use it while fighting Naruto and Sasuke? He could have killed them in an instant by stopping time and making some fatal moves, but he only used the power to stop time when he got trapped inside Boruto's consciousness. He also seems to use this power to talk with Boruto only, and even though there are other people with strong Otsutsuki prowess, they aren't able to catch a glimpse of his encounters. It was shown in chapter 65 that even the subjects of an Otsutsuki god were affected by this time stoppage power. So why is it like that at first place? And can we get to see Boruto utilizing this power in his favor in the future? Well, there are actually not one but two time related powers that Momoshiki has shown to manifest while being inside Boruto. I'm talking about the glimpse of future ability that he used to scare Boruto back in chapter 75. What's interesting is that there were two moments in the story where Momoshiki proved to be wrong, and they both might be connected. Firstly, it was the prediction of taking over Boruto when he would lose the will to live, and secondly, it was this missing panel of Kawaki from the glimpse of future. This means Momoshiki's prophecies that are also time-related manifestations are not 100% reliable. But what's more interesting is that the Otsutsuki was able to see the fate of Boruto getting changed by omnipotence, and he even let him peek into his own dark future. If Boruto ends up possessing a similar power, then it might have already foreseen the destruction that Kawaki has brought to Konoha. It could even explain why he is having a mundane look on his face. He already knows what's about to come, and there is nothing much in his hands that could change the predestined future. But we shouldn't forget the inconsistencies in Momoshiki's predictions and how something similar might return to the story. Before understanding whether Boruto's own foresight could go wrong at some point, let's figure out what led to the loop in Momoshiki's prediction. I think the point where he mentioned taking over Boruto when he desires to escape the world and this missing panel of Kawaki are related to each other. In the original timeline that Momoshiki foresaw, Kawaki must have attacked Boruto, who was trapped under Shikadai's shadow paralysis jutsu, and this could have been his last moment in his body. Shortly after, he must have surrendered to Momoshiki, fulfilling the prophecy from chapter 72. But as we know from the canon events, Momoshiki failed to take him over, and Kawaki never got to him, all because Sarada insisted Sasuke to help him. So if it was predestined for Sarada and Sumire to save Boruto from the beginning, why wasn't Momoshiki able to catch this loophole? He knew that for some unknown reason, Sarada was immune to Aida, but he didn't expect her to become an obstacle in his plan. What I think is that Momoshiki's foresight power is kind of a reflection of his own thoughts that he desires to become things. He wanted Boruto to lose hope and Kawaki to attack him out of nowhere only to take him over for selfish intent. But little did he know the complexity of a person's fate is way more entangled than his mere wishes. Aida indeed took everything away from Boruto, but she couldn't capture the minds of Sarada and Sumire for a very solid reason. She wanted to have Kawaki only for herself, and if Sarada and Sumire had become her captives, they would have fallen for Kawaki instead of Boruto. In order to eliminate the romantic competition, she ended up manifesting a desire which indirectly saved Boruto from Momoshiki's curse. The monster could never get this detail as he cannot read the minds of other people. For instance, he could not predict Kawaki burning his own body with chakra flames to awaken Boruto back in chapter 54. The Otsutsuki might feel superior to humans, but it doesn't mean that he can't be oversmarted by them. This means even if Boruto ends up unlocking the most overpowered Shinjutsu, it won't come without a weakness no matter what. Like the time ability, for example, in chapter 1 of Two Blue Vortex, Kawaki could be seen roaming around the timeless realm. Now whether it's a feat achieved by mastering the Dharma Eye or if he has already surpassed Ishiki will remain a mystery for some time. However, by this we can conclude he might be able to retaliate the time Shinjutsu of Boruto, honoring the lines of Itachi where he says every jutsu has a weakness. So if Kawaki has found the key to bypass Boruto's breathtaking technique, it also needs to be noted that the student of Sasuke has formulated a huge weakness of Kawaki. I'm talking about the personification of his sword, which made it immune from Sukuna Hikona. Boruto has apparently sealed Sasuke into his sword, which explains why Kawaki ain't using the Dharma Eye to shrink it in the future. He found a loophole to the Daikokuten power, which was unique to Ishiki Otsutsuki. This means every Otsutsuki also has a weakness, and it could be that something can be done to deal with the curse of omnipotence too. So could it be that Boruto will unlock a power that will help him to reverse the effects of the divine spell? Well, the answer might be a yes, if we we consider the Jogan as canon to the story. The shapes of the eyes of Ida and Daemon reflect a crescent and a half moon. The Sun Ringen could have 25% of the Jogan's power, while Daemon's eye could wield 50% of its power. Only because the Jogan symbolizes the full moon, comprising the powers of all the moon-based dojutsus. So Boruto gaining the power of omnipotence to regain everything that Ida took from him is not out of question. I said in the beginning that he has been blessed with the powers of multiple Otsutsukis, so he might be able to utilize them in changing his destiny. The only character who has changed his fate in Boruto is Kashin Koji, who was foretold to die by the hands of Ishiki, similar to how Jiraiya was killed. However, he escaped death right at this moment, which proves that destiny is not limited to genes, as said by the Otsutsuki. Not to mention, the concept of fate and destiny are highly renowned in Boruto. The reason I think Koji could have played a role in his destiny, especially the Jogan awakening, is because of Amado's secret purpose behind his creation. I believe Amado wanted to test the new destiny of Kashin Koji in order to be clear about Akebi's safety upon revival. If genes actually predestined a person, then no matter how many times he would revive Akebi, she would end up dying again and again. But the case of Koji proved to Amado that a clone's fate is not determined by the genes, rather they have their own unique identity and destiny. The daughter of Amado, upon coming back to life, won't succumb to the misfortune of her previous life, and the Jiraiya experiment proved this to the scientists. So how could the Star of Change help the boy who possesses the Star of Hope? I think Koji could have some intel about the schemes of Amado, as well as Shibai Otsutsuki, which could come handy to Boruto. He might even know the location where Amado has kept Shibai's remains, and if he reveals them to Boruto, then he could simply use his karma to absorb them, awakening the Jogan in his right eye. The reason I think this way is because the inspiration behind Shibai Otsutsuki's Shiva is known to reside at Mount Kashi. The name sounds way too similar to Kashin Koji, so him knowing the residing place of Shibai's remains is a blunt possibility. Moreover, when it comes to helping Boruto in changing his destiny, he could tell him that the only way to reverse omnipotence is omnipotence itself, but the condition is that it should be manifested by some other Otsutsuki god. This would lead to Boruto starting a journey in the universe after dealing with Kawaki on the Hokage mountain. Furthermore, Kashin Koji's role in Boruto's life could prove to be way more influential by this single concept of Buddhism. It could prove that why him training Boruto was not only predestined, but also a resolve that his past counterpart had failed to accomplish. I'm talking about the Samsara Cycle, which comprises of life, death and rebirth. It also claims that a person's deeds from past life determine his fate in the present one. But there is something in this concept which perfectly fits the case of Kashin Koji. It is believed that if a person fails to fulfill some important purpose in his life, he gets reincarnated after death to carry out the resolve. Let's assume Jiraiya was not happy by the way he went down by the hands of pain. This guilt of not being up to the mark led to his rebirth into Kashin Koji. While we can't say Jiraiya had a full-fledged reincarnation, but changing the destiny written in the genes is enough for us to believe that Koji can fulfill the incomplete desire of Jiraiya. Koji also said that he feels like he's connected to Konoha by fate, which could be a foreshadowing that if the village is under trouble in the future, he could be the one to do something about it. In times of the Borukawa conflict, he could help the protagonist in gaining an upper hand against his opponent. Now, whether it's by the means of training, making him absorb the remains of Shibai, or sending him to the moon, will remain a mystery for some time. A similar concept of reincarnation could also apply to Boruto, and here is how. Boruto having the Jogan eye from the beginning hints at him being related to another Otsutsuki. So what if Boruto is a symbiote of the Otsutsuki god Shibai, who had some important purpose in his mind before he escaped to the higher plane? But before ascending there, he left his will within a human being who ended up having the divine power of his right eye. It could be that Shibai wanted to fix the Otsutsuki clan, or maybe there was a rival Otsutsuki god who needed some humbling from him. But just because Shibai was sick of the mortal world, he escaped to the 5th dimension, leaving behind his remains. Now the duty of dealing with everything he had planned is held by Boruto, and the Jogan is a living proof of it. Coming back to Kashin Koji, there is a darker theory about him that I would like to discuss. The concept of predestined genes does not make Koji free from death, as there is still a way he can die by the hands of Ishiki, or I should say by the hands of the one who holds the genes of Ishiki. What if Kawaki kills Koji sometime in the future at the same place where Ishiki spared him? The reason I think this way is because of Kawaki's outfit, which seems like a tribute to Jigen and Kara. When Kawaki would visit the hideout to get himself the outfit and stuff, he could encounter Kashin Koji there, who would be immune from omnipotence. After realizing that Koji could become a hurdle in his plan, he will end up killing him, confirming the fact that all genes are indeed predestined. If by chance Koji is also a victim of omnipotence, then it's very likely that he might train Kawaki cause he is the good guy in his eyes. The fact that Kawaki summons rods that are similar to the ones that were used in killing Jiraiya highly enhances this possibility. What if Koji trains Kawaki and still ends up facing death by the hands of his student? This would be a reflection on Jiraiya's fate when he got killed by Pain. By this we can conclude that genes determine the fate of an individual in Narutoverse. If this theory turns out to be true, then even if Amado revives Akebi, her destiny would remain the same and she would die again. So how would Amado fix this problem? The best he can do is to wish to an Otsutsuki god for erasing the concept of destiny from the mortal world. In this way he won't be worried about Akebi facing the same fate over and over again. Talking about the Otsutsuki god, we shouldn't forget that Shibai Otsutsuki acts as a huge factor in Boruto's legacy. Not only the Jogan confirms this, but in the recent chapter, Boruto was shown to activate a new power, and the vortex that appears around him while activating it is way too similar to the Shinjutsu of Shibai. The Uzuhiko power is definitely a Shinjutsu, and its ties to Shibai Otsutsuki reflect the breathtaking powers of Boruto. He said to Code that it's easy to kill him, which means he has already surpassed Naruto and Sasuke in terms of power levels, that too without the help of Momoshiki. The Uzuhiko power has made it clear to us that he doesn't need to be dependent on the abilities of his host to surpass everyone. He can awaken his own powers and sharpen them by himself as well. One of such powers is the Foresight ability that was displayed back in chapter 75. The only twist is that he's manifesting it with the Jogan. That's how he was able to tell what's about to come if Cole refused to stop his invasion. Or could it be that he has went into the past himself to gain intel on the Ten Tails? You can find out more about this theory in this video. Also don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stuff. I will see you next time.